Hey everyone, this is your camp counselor Brian, and today you're going to earn a local merit badge. Jim, our director of waterfall diving and camp fund embezzlement, is currently defending our beloved camp in court, so it looks like it's just you and me. No need to worry though, your second merit badge ain't too hard to earn. This one is closer than you think, so let's go get it. Since our podcast didn't immediately go viral, as Jim and I had planned, there's a good guess that you're from the Chicagoland area, but if you're not, there's this truly terrific local band called the Railway Gamblers. Americana, alternative country, bluegrass, indie, folk, rock, indie folk rock? No matter what you call it, if you've always loved the late night coziness of Van Morrison, but wish he had a little more rock infused into his sound, if you wish he replaced his horns with guitar solos that would make David Gilmour proud, if you wish he had just a few more jams that were reminiscent of the Grateful Dead, but at the same time don't require you to be high on acid to appreciate them, then this is the band for you. And if you're looking for a genre to place them in, their website calls them Cosmic Americana. The Gamblers entered the scene in 2014, and a year later released their debut record, Heart of the Sun, home of their biggest hit, Diamond Road. Subsequent releases appeared in 2016 titled Shadow of the Moon and Away in the Wind, both uniquely different and enjoyable works. The band grew in popularity and had an explosive 2017, playing both the jam band favorite Summer Camp Festival, as well as the Taste of Chicago. The quartet put out Lover in 2018, their first album to make its way onto vinyl, which you can purchase in the link below. And 2019 saw the release of a live album winningly titled Two Flew Over the Acoustics Nest. They also started playing some bigger shows, visiting Chicago classics like The Tonic Room, Empty Bottle, and Reggie's. But now we're in a world of lockdown. COVID has influenced everything we do, from social distancing to wearing masks, to our camp's recently installed hand washing stations by the latrines that I'm told were legally required even before the pandemic. So times have changed, and so has the band's sound. Will it take them to greater places? Let's find out. The band has described their fourth album, Lover, as an accumulation of their first three. And if that's true, then I'd say A Greater Place, self-released on January 22nd, represents a step or two in a new direction. Sure, some songs sound like they belong on a Lover sequel, but others will surprise you. There's some Bob Dylan in there, a few hints of flavor from the Lord Huron Spice Rack, and just a dash of Springsteen lyrical themes of hometowns and longing. Sound engineer Mike Hagler has previously worked with Wilco and My Morning Jacket, and his prior experience may add a few tastes here or there. I could go on, but the meal they end up making is overall one that I enjoyed. From rock-heavy tracks like Sarcastic Smile, Satanic Eyes, to the folk-inspired I Didn't Know Where to Go, to the tunes that lie somewhere in the middle like Missing. This album is one that I really enjoyed diving into, so let's get into it. Comfort Me takes the cake as my favorite track. It's peak Gambler sound. There's a groove you can lose yourself in, fanciful guitar work, and drums aptly framing the structure of it all. Frontman Brendan Folliard's voice captures the emotions of the lyrics, but never overpowers the rest of the band. They swirl together in this folky rock cocktail that can only be described as the Railway Gamblers. Next up is definitely Wish There Was Rain. The melancholy tone with the slightest touch of hope, or at least a desire for hope, is present like a moon ray through the overcast clouds. Kinda like the album cover, and maybe that's a little too artsy, but I'm sticking to it. This isn't the title track, but it fits the album's themes like a Cinderella slipper. And speaking of the title track, A Greater Place is another classic. The drum beat is so well intertwined with the guitar that you'd think some weird four-armed human monstrosity was playing both of them at the same time. But don't worry, buddy, it's two people. I've met them, and they're lovely with the average amount of appendages. Anyways, the combination of late night and retrospective sounds comfortably sits this track on the line separating folk and rock, and that's right where these guys excel. And one more song I'd like to highlight is the last one, Some Kind of Light. Sean Williamson's artistry on the drum set is just masterful here. It's the energy of Animal from the Muppets, but with the precision of a well-trained 1980s USSR-era gymnast. This might be one of the best rock songs they've ever written, and I'd love to see them exploded into a 12-minute groove when they play live again. So how about those lyrics? Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the words of Screaming Alleluia, which reminisce on the past and offer warnings of what's to come. This, combined with a touch of religious imagery, makes it just another example of Mr. Dylan's influence here. Adrian P. Ball features the line, "Throughout the moon, put out those stars," and it only gets better from there. And Chicago might be my favorite in terms of lyrics, and that's not just because of my Midwestern bias. So overall, I'd say the lyrics do a nice job. They're enjoyable and fit a consistent theme. As for those things that I didn't enjoy, Hanging Flower is very Dylan-esque, but it's not something I'll find myself going back to often. Never Love the Days, however, is like an electric version of Tangled Up in Blue, with bassist Danny Kane providing a strong backbone to it all. There's even some harmonica in there. And also Screaming Hallelujah, as I mentioned, but the lyrics being great. It's the coolest song title I think they've ever come up with, but it didn't quite live up to its name, at least for me. With a title like that, I expected a high-energy rock track or a ballad that slowly builds to an emotional apex, but it never quite gets there. It climbs for a little at the start, but plateaus about halfway in. I expected a Mumford & Sons style explosion of emotion, but Manfred's solo is more restrained than eruptive. And again, you might love how the Gamblers wrote this track, it's just my opinion here. And speaking of my ever-important opinions, the album cover. It's a little odd. The first two albums featured real pictures, and the band switched to digital images for records 3 and 4. Now they're back to photography, and it fits the theme that they've had. It looks very south of Chicago, a touch of industrialism mixed with the city and the suburbs, Blue Island and a couple thousand pixels. The gray frame of the image is a nice touch, but overall I'm not in love with it. Does it fit the sounds contained within? Absolutely. But for me personally, I think I would have enjoyed a computer-generated image in this style. It would be the perfect combination of their original album's realistic city nighttime views with the more recent album's graphically designed art. And speaking of those previous albums, if you do know this band, then please give this record a listen. The Gamblers are exploring some new ground here, so you don't want to miss it. Touches of their old albums will appear right alongside new sounds and themes that are just delightful. And I know I mentioned Bob Dylan here more times than a folk fanatic in 1965, but there's so much of his sound here that you'd think he'd produce the album. And if you don't know their older stuff, should you start here? It's not a bad idea if you love America's King of Folk, but I'm always an advocate of starting a new band with their best of tracks before getting into full albums. There's nothing wrong with listening to this album first, and if you do, leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you do find yourself wanting to start with the hits, I suggest Over and Over for a solid rock and roll tune, Gone Again for music to listen to as you get lost in your head, Day by Day for some perfect afternoon vibes, and of course Diamond Road, their single that started it all. Alright, let's get into it. How was the album reviewed? Well, I found one review from the Chicago Crowdsurfer, and reviewer Kyle Land called the album their finest work to date. He specifically pointed out their ability to jam, as well as the lyrical and ballad depth that, quote, some of their contemporaries might find it difficult to capture. He also highlighted the themes of heartbreak, hope, and longing, especially as they fit in today's world. You know, a giant disaster-filled mess that makes doomsday prophecies of 2012 sound a little more credible, give or take a few years. But I think the best quote from the review comes when Land writes that each track becomes its own universe. It perfectly sums up what makes the Gamblers so wonderful to listen to. So Kyle Land sounds like a cool guy, but do I recommend the album? Yeah, give these guys a listen. The depth this band has is truly delightful to get yourself lost in. They're not doing this full time, and they aren't being supported by the industry's finest and the most high-tech Hollywood studio. They're an indie band through and through, which only makes their consistent growth ever the more impressive. Is it my favorite album by them? Well, no, but that's just my personal taste. What's more important to me is a noticeable effort to evolve and improve with every release. And that's what makes me love this band. They hit the scene with a unique sound and honestly could have just coasted on it if they wanted. Instead, they've consistently tried out new things, making every album a unique experience that you previously didn't even think of. Taking these risks could cost you everything every time you release new music, but in the vein of artists like Coheed and Cambria and Tyler the Creator, the Railway Gamblers view each album as an opportunity to explore while also celebrating what makes them, well, them. It's that sweet middle ground in between the turbulent changes of bands like The Devil Wears Prada and the consistent 2 feet planted firm method of groups like AC/DC. Sometimes it doesn't quite work out, but for the 5th time in a row, the Gamblers found a way to make a new sound while still remaining loyal to themselves. And all I can say is please never change, guys. Or keep changing, but like in the right way. Well, however you phrase it, just don't stop making music. I love it. Alright, camper, congrats, you've earned your 2nd merit badge. And while we were working, I got word. And Jim's, he's gonna be, well, it's gonna be you and me out here for a while. But he'll be here as soon as we embezzle enough funds to help him make bail. Well, look at the time, nearly midnight. Let's set up the mosquito nests. It's the worst fighting those things off. Oh, and remember your medication. This camp can't handle any more legal fees right now. We've got a big day tomorrow, so sleep easy, camper.